This is the first houseboat I ever made. I named it Driftwood. One of my favorite things that I've ever had. I gave it to one of my favorite friends, which is Isabella. It's now her playhouse, as you can see. But even though I'm not here year round, they think about me. And look at, they made the eye with a, she made an eye with an anchor. That's so cute. So now it is still a working houseboat. It's on pontoons. But you could see back then I could actually hold onto the roof and walk along the sides to get to the back. Although I had a door. I had a half door. And then the motor. And a little deck back here, 1 foot deck. So I made it back to Milwaukee. This episode is going to be the season finale of season 2. And I'm gonna do a quick tour of the RV, and then I'm going to do a recap of living on the Tennessee River for the last pretty much spring, winter, and the end of fall of last year. I was able to start on Lake Barkley, do most of Lake Barkley. I think it's the Cumberland River that jumps over to the Kentucky Lake, or the other side of the National Forest there. And I was able to do pretty much a lot of that shoreline, either with the camper or with the dinghy, and traveling and doing day trips. And then eventually, once I got the houseboat on there, we spent, I think 3 or 4 weeks in that area with the houseboat, coming down to the end of the Kentucky Lake into the Tennessee River. And then there's about a 30-mile stretch, 15 miles north, 15 miles south of my marina, that I mean, at this point, I consider it's a place that I lived at, because I was there for, 6 to 8 months, and I stayed in almost every part of it. So we're going to do a little recap. I'm going to show we're going to spend a lot of time looking at the map, so you can actually go to these places and find them. And then I'll show a little recap of each place and kind of break down how that worked. So let's start with a quick tour of the RV. Yeah, should be a great episode. And then season 3 will start in the next couple of weeks, depending on how things go with getting the sailboat, the projects all started with that. So we'll talk about that at the end of the episode. All right, stay tuned. This is a Flagstaff E19 FBS front bed, 19-foot towable trailer. Comes with a 190-watt solar panel on the roof, a max air fan, air conditioning, and a slide out. Under the awning here, outside speaker, outside porch light, complete LED lighting along the upper awning, outside grill, outside grilling table, and power outlets for USB and 120 volt. This is a pass-through storage, goes all the way through to the other side. Docking lights too. Those lights turn on, the whole front is lit up then. Water hookup, water heater. My water heater runs off of gas, meaning propane, and it also runs off of 12 volt. This is what sets this camper apart from most small campers, the slide out. So I'll be honest with you, slide out adds a lot of weight and it adds a lot of money. So probably a third of the price is because of the slide out. These campers go for just over $30,000 new. I bought mine brand new. I added a bunch of things that brought it to just over $35,000. And those things are like heated tanks. I'll go through them when we look at the control panel. I'm going to show you the weight here though. This is one of the reasons why I got this. Total weight, $4,379, or 4,379 pounds. I wish it was only $5,000. That's with the water in there too. with the water loaded and the propane loaded. Here's my back shower. It's right there. I locked it up because I'm leaving in the morning. But essentially that opens up and it's a complete shower. I wash my dishes and I shower out here. That way I don't have anything in my tanks. I don't have to worry about gray water dumps or black water dumps. So we'll start at the front. I have a anti-sway hitch that's hooked up, and essentially those are some huge metal bars that hook up to here, and they run to the bumper, the hitch actually, and that makes it so that the truck doesn't squat down when you put extra weight on it. Makes it so the truck sits a lot better. Mine's electric. It goes up and down with push button. I don't have to wind anything. It's a jack stand, I guess. I mean, I guess it's a jack, but I use these once I run out of water. I go and I get water. I keep them on the top of the truck right here. I go and I fill them up. I back the water up and I dump it in there with a little hose, so I'm not lifting anything. And if I do it 3 times, I can fill the tank, because those are a little over 5 gallons, and I have 32-gallon tank. So the other thing is I have a automatic switch. I'm sorry, a non-automatic switch for my propane. So this will turn to red. Not very tight. This little light right here will turn to red, and you'll hear a click inside. You come out, you turn it, and then it'll automatically it'll go back on. So if you're out in the middle of the night, out of heat in the middle of the night, it's not hard to just come out here and turn this. Then I have my 200 amp hour lithium batteries, Battleborn batteries. I have a direct hookup to plug them into a small charger when I leave the trailer alone, like for long times in storage. And then I also have the charge controller and the solar panels are in by the heater. So this is the heater. There's a little unit, there's a little storage unit right here that has the inverter and the charge controller built in. And I'll show you those real quick. I'll walk in and show you them. Well, welcome to my traveling off-road home. That's where the inverter and the heater come out. There's also an outlet for the heater by the door over here too. This is my kitchen. Nice nifty little kitchen. I do have a nice oven. I have a beautiful sink. TV's great. I also have a little this makes my mobile, it makes my signal go further. Mobile extender, Wi-Fi extender. And then I have on the roof, which I'll go through that next, I have not only the solar panel and the fan and the air conditioner, but I also have a rotating antenna that gets me TV. So I opted to go for a little bit wider than a twin size bed, and then the back of the bed that would normally be a twin or queen is cat post, cat litter pan, closet, hanging stuff, laundry, and all my clothes are up top. Pots and pans are in the drawer below. It's a lot of pots and pans, so that's why they're down there. I turned this into, this used to be where I hang stuff, but I turned it into DVD storage and shelving stuff. But this used to be a hanging closet. Pots and pans, I broke the drawer the other day, so I'm going to fix that when I get back to Milwaukee. That's where I put all my canned goods. So it's completely heavy and it's a horrible drawer, but it's directly above the tire, so it sits the best right there. It's a very deep sink, which I like. Full refrigerator, freezer, microwave on that whole back panel right there. The Magic Chef refrigerator freezer, first of all, I can make my own ice. How awesome is that? Is 12 volt. does not run off of propane. It only runs off of 12 volts. But again, I have a really good solar system. Speaking of, here's the charge controller for the solar. Right now I'm at 83%. I'm getting 8.76 kilowatt amp hours. That's how much I have to get back to 100%. And I'm getting 6.8 volts amps off of the sun right now. Thermostat. This air conditioner is the same size air conditioner that they use for 30-foot trailers. So it gets this thing freezing cold very fast. But I need to use my generator to run it. Overhead storage everywhere. You see how that happened? I might edit that out. We'll see. I might show you that I can just plug in a normal vacuum and clean that right up without having to turn on the generator either. Cookies, cleaning supplies, chips and stuff. Bread, noodles, coffee. On the slide out, the whole top is storage too. So I have my winter gloves and winter stuff there, a bunch of tools there, a bunch of tools here too, and my garbage bags, tinfoil, stuff like that. And then dog and cat treats. The cat has the run of underneath the couch. That whole length of underneath the couch is a cat area. Behind the couch is a cat area. Obviously the cat post is good. Her litter pan's down in there. I made a little seat for her to be in here, which she spends most of her time, as you can see. Yeah. The best part about this RV is the slide out. So normal campers do not have 4.5 feet of floor this way, and then 6.5 feet of floor this way. Yeah, it's definitely the slide out that makes this whole RV better than most. This wide open area in the middle here makes it so if you're stuck in here for a few days watching movies in bad weather or whatever, it's not that bad of a thing to do. So the TV, I have an outside TV too. It's stored underneath the couch. The stereo works with USB hookup or HDMI. It also has radio and Bluetooth, and it works outside and inside. Yeah. The other control panel is over here. And essentially, let me see if I can get it to focus. Here's all the lights. This will let you check if you have, so I have full battery, fresh tank, gray tank, black tank, water pump, if you're gonna run the sinks, water heater for gas, water heater for electric, and then here's the tank heaters, and those are like little heaters put underneath the black, gray, and fresh tanks, so if it gets below 30 degrees at night, they won't freeze. Here's my slide and awning, retract and in, and putting it out. It doesn't take forever, but it's not the fastest thing in the world. And then again, you guys, this is my front yard, which you've seen many times. The couch is pretty cool because it turns into 2 different recliners and it flips out to be a queen size bed. It just lifts right up like that. This is kind of how a normal RV is. with just this little tiny gap in the middle between the couch and the kitchen. Once you slide the slide out in, how much room it takes. It takes up half the inside of the RV. So it's 4:30 in the morning, and just past 4:30. I'm packing up everything. I want to show you the docking lights here, how bright they are. My camera sucks, but I can see everything to hitch up, and that's perfect. That's what those lights are for. I got River and Cricket in the truck. There she is. So she's got a litter pan, food and water, and a place to lay down. That's the only way I can drive for more than 2 hours, where when she's meowing, I know she has everything she technically needs. So it's more of a stress thing and not just that she has to go to the bathroom. So that's how she rides when she goes on 7 and 8 hour trips. Alright, so I'm going to pull up all these jack stands, then I'm going to connect it. So it's now 5:20 and we're on the road. Yeah, I'm excited to get back to Milwaukee. It's an entirely different life, you know, living next to Summerfest and living next to basically our largest festival place, a festival gathering, is in my front yard. So it's, you know, I'm going from having no people to being around hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people every day. So this is going to be a very big change. I am excited. My truck's a little low because I have the dinghy and the motor in the back. I'm going to adjust the hitch real quick to offset that. I don't like how that looks. We'll fix that. Otherwise, everything looks good. It's all sitting good. Oh, you know what it is? I have full water. I'm going to drain the water tanks. That's what it is. Alright, I'm going to do that. It's sitting a lot better now. So, in the next part of this video, I'm going to break all YouTubers' cardinal rule is I care about you guys. I want you guys to actually come out and do this stuff. I like people living vicariously by watching the videos and then getting a nice little break from their day-to-day life or their routine. But ideally, I would like to get comments, pictures, and videos of other people coming out and enjoying the places that I'm pointing out or enjoying the way that I'm doing this. So we're going to take a lot of time, next 5 or 10 minutes, to really look at some maps. And I'm going to show you how close these creeks are that I'm finding are to each other and how tied up they are to the wildlife reserves and the national forests. Then I'll show you some pictures from each of the creeks to kind of, show you which ones are going to be something that you would want to visit or what have you, just depending on your size of boat or what have you. So yeah, my goal is to basically have it where all of you guys go out and enjoy this type of life and enjoy doing this type of thing. And anything I can do to help you do it would be great. My goal in the beginning of season 2 was to move down and live on the largest waterway for houseboats in the world. That is Lake Barkley, Kentucky Lake, and the Tennessee River. I was able to move down onto Lake Barkley and build myself Moonshine, the houseboat you've been following for the last 6 months. Now when you zoom in on these maps, you can see all these little inlets and waterways. Demumbers Bay is where I built Moonshine, and then I launched for the first time there to see if it would float and to see how accurate, how flat it would float. But each and every one of these little waterways is perfect places for houseboats to stay. This little waterway from the Cumberland over to the Kentucky is the way that I use my dinghy and the houseboat to get over to the Kentucky, and then down into Twin Lakes, which is the first camping site you saw me camping on the beach with Scott and Sue, with my RV directly on the beach. Now, as you go down the side of the Kentucky Lake, between Barkley Lake and Kentucky Lake is all national forest, so you can camp in that whole area on all of it with backpack camping, and the majority of roads you can RV camp off of. So as you look through my videos, you'll see me go all the way down the side of Kentucky Lake camping and exploring until I finally jumped on to Cuba Landing, where we have the boat still to this day and until March of next year. When you're looking at the Tennessee waterway on a map here, the white part is the shipping lanes, and all the overflow waterways are where you basically could anchor or park your boat. At the top, or the farthest I went up, was Birdsong. This is Birdsong. It's about 15 miles north of Cuba Landing. And then as you come down the shoreline here, you're going to run into Morgan Creek and all the way down to Cub Creek. But let's start from the top and look at all the different small little creeks on the way down that the map doesn't show. Now, starting back up at the top, you have Birdsong. As you come down from Kentucky Lake, from Birdsong, the first major river you're going to run into is actually the Duck River, where Brenton and I tried to get up a couple of different episodes and couldn't. And then we actually took shelter for a couple of storms, and I spent several weeks in the next creek, which is Eagle Creek. I also did my overnights where I launched the boat there. The next one is Possum Creek, is on both sides, and you saw me actually on both sides camping. Then you have Roberts Creek, which was my most recent overnight. We get back to Cuba Landing, which, as you can tell, is right before the highway overpass that you always saw me coming in and out of the marina. You would always see that. Then on the way down to Morgan's Creek, there was a couple of overnight spots that just don't have names. And after Morgan's Creek, that's where it turned into ending the wildlife preserve, and you saw all the houses built up directly on the river on Crooked Creek and on Cherokee Landing and Cherokee Marina. But if you go all the way past that, you get right back into Nature Preserve. Now, this is about 15 miles down the river, and it starts again. And then, if you remember, I had a couple of weeks that I stayed down in Cup Creek. Simply said, this adventure, starting in August till just recently, has been a childhood dream of mine ever since I can remember. Building my own houseboat and living on it and becoming one with this great area and this place is